Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey. I am Rob, your host. The cock is back.
Yep, I'm here. The co-host Carter.
Co-host Carter.
Yeah,
you like how
yeah.
I got the acronym for you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I resemble that remark.
That's pretty good, dude.
Oh man.
Fun way to start the show.
Yeah, exactly. So we're talking something kind of interesting today.
We are talking something kind of interesting, and it's a topic, you and I think both agree on this, and very underrated, undervalued wine region. And maybe we're off base. Maybe we're missing, we just don't see it, and it's out there.
Yeah.
But we're in a lot of wine groups. We do a lot of wine stuff with wine people. I don't see this as being kind of coveted and talked about, and wine nerds, wine geeks kind of know and are living in this space a little bit, but not the average wine consumer.
Well, it's in some of these wine groups that we kind of peruse.
Baller wines,
wines, and I think that we're talking more of a value play here.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I don't want the word to get too out there because I don't.
Here we go, publishing an episode all over the world.
Yeah. So anyway, we're talking a little Rioja today.
Rioja, Spanish wine.
Yes.
A country in general that I don't think gets the love. When you think old world wines, it's always right to Italy and France.
Yeah, naturally. And
I don't object to that, but
yeah.
I think it should be Italy, France, and Spain. France, Italy, Spain. France, Spain, Italy.
Yeah.
Italy, Spain, France. Those three should be mentioned. And I understand that there's a lot of other countries, Georgia, Croatia, that have been making wine a lot longer. But these are three that have been making it, over 1,000 years.
Yeah.
That do it really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, I think kind of what got me talking to you about, wanting to talk about this is, the other day, I was in a big box store, Total Wine, and I picked up a few bottles of Rioja, and I was thinking to myself, I'm going to make the barbecue sandwiches.
Yeah.
And I think Rioja is going to go great with that. And man, did it ever just hit the spot. Perfect, man. Just, barbecue pork sandwich with the Rioja. It was just fantastic. And I'm like, man, why don't we talk about Rioja a little bit? I will say in this episode, I have never had a white Rioja, and I know that is something that they do.
Not that much. 90% of all their grapes made are red grapes. So.
Yeah, I wanted to go out and say, I know a little bit about the region. I can't say that I'm a complete expert because I've never tried the white wines that came from Rioja.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I absolutely enjoy Tempranillo, and I really am enjoying Rioja. I think it's very versatile.
Yeah, Tempranillo being the kind of the dominant grape, the lead grape in most Rioja wines. I think the next blended grape would be the Grenache. And then there's some other varietals that are kind of play a part. But yeah, you're right. Tempranillo is the lead here in the star, and I think it's fantastic.
Well, I mean, what are we drinking here? Okay, you picked this up the other day.
Picked this up a couple days ago.
Okay, so
off the shelf,
with $27. Okay, $27. This one is called Vina Cumbrero. And it's a Gran Reserva. We'll kind of talk about that classification system in a little bit, but and it's from 2011.
Off the shelf.
What are you buying these days that has that much age on it?
For $27.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. I mean, so I think there's definitely a big amount of value here.
Well, I think it's value and. How do we want to say this? It's value and age.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's some value wines you can get that are pretty good but are young. But, sometimes it's fun when you get into wines that you go, most of what you see on the shelf today, if you're just getting into wine and you haven't built up a collection that you have for years that you can go pull something that you've sat on for 10 years.
Yeah.
you don't typically go to the store and find, the current releases from Bordeaux or Brunello that are 10, 11, 12 years old.
No.
Or maybe not current releases, but are that still on the shelf. You just don't see them. They get eaten up pretty quick. Rioja is a region that you can still find on the shelf with age. The value for quality of wine is great, but then because you can find some at 2017, 2018, 2019, but you can also find these 2011 and even younger.
Even younger, yeah. Or older, yeah.
Yeah, or older, yeah. However, I always get confused on what's the right way to say that.
Yeah.
But I recently picked up, even yesterday, I picked up a 2009 for $35.
I mean, that's kind of crazy, right?
From a very well-known quality producer.
Yeah.
Go try to find a 2009 Bordeaux or Brunello or anything like that and tell me you're going to pay.
Burgundy wine, you're gonna pay, I mean, $60 plus at least if you can find something that.
I don't. At that age, you'll probably pay more than 60.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's true. That's true. But
maybe not. But I don't. But you're just not going to find it. It's the point.
Yeah,
for the most part.
I don't know. Is Tempranillo a polarizing type of wine? Do you think? I mean, like I find it enjoyable, but do certain people not like it?
I don't know. I think wine nerds, that are going around to different, regions and countries trying wines, love it. I really think they really enjoy it and appreciate it because it's a quality wine for the most part. I just think for whatever reason, maybe it's a distribution thing from Spain. Maybe they don't distribute because if you think about going into a big box store, you don't see a huge selection, a huge section of Spanish wines. I mean, you see a little bit, but it's like, one section.
Yeah.
Where you go to Bordeaux.
Oh, and it's two sides of an aisle.
Reds,
and,
whites, you got left bank, right bank,
Italy, two sides,
Italy, crazy. Spain, you don't see a ton.
No.
And so I don't know if it's just a distribution. It's probably a production thing, too. I don't know how much wine they make. I don't think it's a ton compared to Bordeaux and other places.
They're a huge wine growing region. I know that, and I think they produce quite a bit of wine. But as far as, as far as volume compared to France or, I doubt it,
So I think all of those things probably play a part. But I think when you get somebody who enjoys wine, reds, from a variety of places, whether it be Bordeaux or Rhone or even from Napa or other places, once you expose them or they find Spanish Rioja, Tempranillo being the lead grape, I think they immediately like it and probably soon after fall in love with these wines.
I think so too. I mean, like I'm looking at the one we're drinking right now. Man, I really love the color of this wine. It's very, very pretty. You can see it's even got a little of that, kind of garnet thing going on because of the age and everything. And it's got a great nose to it. A lot of fruit, but you're also picking up the yolk and all that kind of thing. It's
still has tannin.
Still has tannin.
Yeah. This could age another 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think Tempranillo is pretty tannic. Like I think that just in general, that varietal it has some high tannins. So it needs age. Some of them do. I guess mostly the ones that are grown in the higher altitudes and things like that.
Yeah, and when you talk about tannin, you're talking about the time it spends in barrel, it's getting additional tannin there as well.
Yes,
so,
for sure,
absolutely,
for sure. So let's kind of like. Do you want to kind of talk about the classification
system
why don't
you
a little bit?
Hit on that a little bit.
Okay, so I think I'm not sure when the classification system actually started. I think it was like maybe the 50s or something. You're my fact checker here.
Yep. It was inaugurated in 1953. It was structured and developed in 45, but it took them a few years to kind of get it going.
I think it was kind of like one of those things that the government just wanted to, have a quality standard, and all that, and because the region's been producing wine for a long time, but unless you have some defining quality standard, then it's tough, you know.
Yeah.
So
1970s when it actually, the denunciation de origin, where it's from, was approved, and the regulations for regulating council was kind of formed.
Okay. So you've got kind of four different, what I would say, four different like categories here. So you've got Joven, which is really just an unaged red wine from the region. I don't know if it falls into if you say Joven with the white wines or not, but Joven is the unaged. Then you have Crianza, which is aged 2 years, minimum 1 year in barrel.
Before release.
Reserva, 3 years minimum, 1 year in barrel. And then you have Grand Reserva, which is 5 years aged and minimum 2 year in barrel.
Yeah.
So if you think about this Grand Reserva. We're drinking a Grand Reserva right now, and I've heard that. Well, anyway, I'll talk about that in a second. But this wine can't even be released for 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean that's nutty, and then you go pick it up for under $30. I mean, like that's I don't know how they're making money.
That's the question, because whenever you talk about Brunello or Barolo, places that might sit on the release for a little while, cost goes up, and everybody goes, yeah, but look, the winery sat on that for so long.
Oh, yeah,
there's a real estate expense. It took up space, and I agree. And then I look at Rioja and go, how the hell are they doing this?
Yeah, it's weird, man. Now, I've heard I don't know that I've had too much of the like unaged stuff like the Joven, but I do think that like you can get a bottle of that stuff for like, I don't know, like $14-15 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm never gonna buy it, dude.
I'd like to try it because I hear the fruit is really nice on it. And
is it like a Beaujolais? Their version of a Beaujolais?
Maybe so. I think a lot of those have more Grenache, like in them, and which kind of balances out that Tempranillo tannin a little bit more. But anyway, I've never tried one. So,
and the reason I say I'm never going to try it at $15, why wouldn't I spend 10 more and get this bad boy?
I guess it depends on if you like an oak aged wine or not.
Well, this is true.
And
to your point, just to try it, just to see, probably should.
Yeah, just a comparison.
Yeah, probably should.
I love oak, so
yeah,
give me oak. I love oak. But
balanced oak,
not
you don't want Rombauer oak.
No, no Rombauer. no chewy fake tasting oak. But like a good balance, yeah, hell yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I like a little oak on a wine too, for sure.
But so check this out, right? So pairings with this, just some that I looked online, and some I've tried. Pork, barbecue, roast lamb, shepherd's pie, anything with peppers.
What kind of peppers are we talking?
I think they're talking about like I don't know, maybe like poblanos or things.
Not super spicy, but a little bit.
A little spice, but nothing too intense.
I like that.
But a lot of Spanish style, dishes.
Sure.
And I could see that going into even like Latin America, Central America type dishes. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind trying this with like some of Sandra's tacos sometime.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a great pairing, matter of fact.
But you think
might happen.
It sounds like a good idea. But I think that what I like about it is it's versatile as far as like, you think of kind of all those kind of categories right there.
Well, we're in Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, you're hitting smoked and barbecue and pork and meats, and this kind of aligns with a Texas menu.
I could actually see it going okay with Asian food.
That and even a burger.
A burger burger would be great.
Yeah.
Burger
Philly cheesesteak with the little green peppers in there.
And see, you start thinking about that and thinking about how many different things could this complement.
Yeah,
and I think there's a great variety. To me, it's almost like Zinfandel, like to me, like so you
doesn't have the pepperiness on it.
Doesn't have that pepper, but I'm just thinking of like kind of some of the things that you can pair it with. it's very Zinfandel-like.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I like that.
So, and I'm a fan of Zinfandel. So
we both are.
Yeah. So anyway, I like the versatility of it. I think from a history perspective, this Rioja, I think, what was the thing that affected all the all the vines in Europe, the
Phylloxera?
Yeah. So I think it didn't impact Spain until later. So a lot of people were buying Rioja back during that time, from Europe because that they weren't able to produce their own wines.
I'm looking at the back of this because I'm going, there's no Grenache in here, and I wasn't getting that. So it's 95% Tempranillo, and then the 5% of that Graciano.
Okay, Graciano. Okay, I mean, it's pretty balanced.
Delicious, though.
Don't you like the I like the mouthfeel of this thing. It's not like,
that's what she said.
It's not like what you would call like, I don't know, viscous or anything, but it's got it's just a pleasant.
Very nice. This is something that, there's some wines where you go, it's good, but it needs food.
Yeah.
It's better with food. This, I think, would be great with food, but it's great on its own.
Yeah.
I enjoy wines like that to have in the fridge that go great with food, that are very versatile. I think you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
You were saying versatile in the sense of with different foods, but versatile with food or without is also kind of cool because sometimes you just want to sit out back and enjoy a nice glass of wine, and this would work.
Well, it's not going to break the bank either.
That too.
And I mean, I'm sure there are some really expensive Riojas that you can buy. I mean,
you and I have talked about this before. When you think about Italy and France, there's regions there that are just coveted, that are just mind-blowing with what they can charge for bottles of wine coming out of those regions, Burgundy and Bordeaux.
Oh, yeah.
Brunello and Brunello and Barolos and things like that. Spain, I'm sure they're there. You just made the comment about it. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Unico, I know. That's the only one.
Well, I mean, you even...
And we're just average wine guys, so maybe they're out there and we don't know.
I'm sure somebody who's way more of an aficionado on this stuff is probably going to say, well, you're missing this and that and the other. But honestly, with such an availability of value there, it would be hard for me to spend more money on it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because I don't drink a lot of. I've been lucky enough to try a lot of, expensive wines, and maybe it's my underdeveloped palate, but I don't see the big difference between, let's just say, a $120 bottle of wine and a $500 bottle of wine. And I just think when you start paying for exclusivity or, just because of production limits, to me, I don't know that I care that much about that as I do just having really good wine. And I'm saying that to say the $120 bottle of wine and the $500 bottle of wine, the wines are pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, you're the gap there between the, $50, $60 bottle of wine and the $120 bottle of wine. The delta there, it's generally speaking, it's sometimes they're better, and you can taste the difference. But is it worth that extra $60?
Yeah, no. The difference between 120 and a 500 on price is so big. Taking that to the actual wine is so small. I would rather have 3 bottles of the 120 or 4 bottles of that than 1 bottle of the 500 is my point.
Well, the problem
I'm a volume drinker.
Here's the problem. How are you ever going to put a picture on Instagram or Facebook and be considered a baller?
I'll go to the Houston Wine Society and just copy some pictures and post them.
There you go.
Call me baller.
Yeah, but anyway.
We're a show about the average wine drinker.
Yes.
So that's what we are. That's who we represent.
Yeah. I mean, like, the type of wines we drink. I mean, we drink a Beaujolais,
a Cru Beaujolais, for $30
for $30. Yeah. A Chianti Classico Reserva, that costs.
We drink some Brunellos and stuff, but we're, look,
I do
$100 or less. I say we live $100 or less.
Yeah,
there's some exceptions, but for the most part, we're less than we probably live in the $50, $35 to $55 range.
If you want to bust out a Sassicaia sometime, I'm not going to turn you down.
Might happen.
Yeah,
Never know.
I
might bust out a 1961 Bordeaux.
We do have one of those. I hope it's still good. You never know.
I'm not very hopeful.
Yeah, me either. 1961's a long damn time ago.
Yeah, it is.
That it's right bank, huh?
It's right bank.
Yeah, those don't hold as well either.
Not as well. Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be a fun experiment.
Yeah.
So,
at least we can say we tried a 1961 before I was born.
Man, I think about this and I just really want to go to Spain because, man, I'm into paella.
Okay. I've seen a couple of friends recently. Well, Mark and Mary just got back from Spain. And then a friend of mine, Rip and Tracy, a couple, just recently, a couple months ago, got back from a trip in Spain. And seeing all those pictures of one, just the land, the country, beautiful, the food that they're eating, and knowing you can have wines like this that are probably less expensive over there.
I know, right? I mean,
everything points to let's take a trip to Spain.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you get the seafood thing big time. I mean, it's there's tons of coast around Spain.
Meats are big over there. I mean, hunting and things like that are huge.
Yeah, I mean, it just and in the history in general, just it sounds like a great time.
Probably some badass cava that we don't get over here.
Probably. So talking about cava, I don't know enough about it. But like cava doesn't have as many rules, right?
No.
You can have traditional method cava, or you can have it made like prosecco, like in vats or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's a little bit more roll the dice.
But most of the cava, I think, my understanding is most of it is made in the traditional method. That's kind of a label that they have, and I think they want to keep that as much as they can because I think it's a way to get people to come try it if it's made in the same method as champagne. Yeah. I think that's huge. I mean, when you talk about California producers, if you make it in the same with that second fermentation in bottle, I'm more inclined to try it than I would be a Prosecco or something.
Yeah. I agree.
So I think for that, there's not like hard rules, but I think a lot of them still do it that way because it just helps the brand.
Sure. Yeah. I know that Cava's huge. I mean, like they make tons of it, right? I mean,
they do inexpensively.
Yeah. I mean, you go again. I don't know enough about it because I need to really like explore it more. It just like this Rioja, like we're talking about this, there's so much value there that there's got to be some really good things like in the way of cava.
And that's why we're saying Spain in general is a region, a country producing wines that is way undervalued, underappreciated, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, sub-regions within Rioja.
Okay.
What do we got, Carter?
We got Rioja Alta, which I think is the highest altitude.
Makes sense.
I don't know if alta means altitude, but maybe.
I think it probably does.
And that's the area that has probably the most tannins. But anyway, I do know that the big town or the big city that's in Rioja that's kind of, I guess they do like a big wine festival. There's some crazy stuff that goes on, but I hear it's a really interesting city to visit. It's called Haro, and I think that's in the Rioja Alta region.
Okay.
And then you have Rioja Alavesa, which I think is similar to Alta. It's maybe not as high elevation, but still higher elevation. And then you have Rioja Oriental, I guess is how you say it. I used to be called Rioja Baja, but it's the largest region in Rioja. But I think that because of there's not as the altitude's not there. It's considered to be more of a, I don't know, the quality is not quite as good.
Okay.
But I'm sure the value might be better there. So I don't know. But yeah, those are your regions. And then of course,
those are your subregions.
Your subregions, yeah. And I think you get quite a bit of, you kind of get that where the Atlantic is meeting, like, you get kind of that sea type of thing, like they do in other regions. I don't know, but it's pretty good growing conditions for, I guess, Tempranillo. But I also know that you have to have a lot more land to grow lots of Tempranillo. So.
And talk about that. You bring up a good point. Why is that?
I think it's just you don't get the yield out of Tempranillo.
So they plant more vines.
Yeah, you need more,
which means you're going to get
hectares or whatever it is,
Which is a good thing in winemaking because the fruit's going to be more concentrated. Mm-hmm. So it should be a better quality out of the fruit that you get per vine. You just need more vines to make, is what you're saying.
Right. But I'd say, like, from that perspective, this also goes to this whole value. Like, how the hell are they able to? They have to use more land to produce less wine, and they age it for a long time. Like, how?
It's a great question.
What are the economics here? I don't know.
You know what? We need to stop bringing that up. We don't need Spanish producers to hear this and go, "Hey guys, we can charge more."
I tell you, man.
Let's just appreciate what they're doing.
Yeah. It's interesting too. Like, I think, I've read different things about, like, kind of the Spanish. I mean, and I think the Spanish drink quite a bit of Rioja, but I don't think that I think their culture is not spending a lot of money on wine. Like, the common man. Like, so if you go to, like, a cafe or, like, a restaurant or something like that, it's more like table type wine and stuff like that. So,
okay.
So I guess the country itself, it's more limited in those wine enthusiasts. They drink tons of wine, but they don't. I think the quality thing isn't really, like, as big of a deal. At least that's what I've heard.
Okay.
So I don't know if that plays into it.
I think that probably makes sense. I think it's just, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to stop trying to figure it out and just keep enjoying
wine. Yeah. But yeah, man. And I know that the styles have changed quite a bit on Rioja. Like, I think that you had, like, the traditional style is to longer aging in American oak.
Okay.
And then you've got more of the modern style, which is more French oak.
So they're doing both French. Are they doing any Hungarian that you found out?
I don't know about that. No.
I know that's the other big wood that's used quite a bit now. French and American were the two for a long time. I know, and I say a long time, Hungarian's probably been used for a while, but becoming more kind of mainstream. Hungarian is something. I'm wondering if they were using that.
I could see, and then, I know that just kind of looking at this and looking up some things, it looks like they have kind of a nice blend, since they'll age it a little bit in American oak, age it a little bit in French oak, or maybe they age it in a Hungarian oak. There's kind of the traditional, the modern, and somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But I mean, French oak, I'm a big fan. So
I am too, and it's crazy. Have you ever been to Napa and done a tasting at Del Dado?
No.
Okay. Del Dado was where I kind of gotten my eyes open to how big and how different the influence of oak can be on a wine. There you go, and I'm going to get right back real quick. But it was interesting to me when you talk about French and American oak and Tempranillo. If you gave me a Tempranillo and you said this bottle, same grape juice, but it was aged in in French oak, this Tempranillo, same grape juice, was aged in American oak, I'd buy a bottle of both.
Yeah.
I think some consumers would be like, well, what does it matter? I'll just take, French oak is made for wine, so I'm going to take that one or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a vastly different product based on the oak that you're using, that influence. I remember going through Del Dado, and every wine, 7 wines you would taste through the tasting, but every one had French oak, American oak. and you would taste so you actually tasted 14 wines going through.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
But it really opened my eyes to go, because I used to have that perception, that thought that it's oak. I don't care if you get it from France, America, Hungary, wherever you get it from, it's oak. It's not true.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, or maybe, I don't know if they did this in, like when we went to, Rob and I went to go pick a Maker's Mark.
Yes.
Which they use different staves and things like that. So they've got, all of these different staves that they use, and it was really interesting. Like, they give you, they let you feel different pieces of wood. Like you get the American oak. It's very dense, very heavy. The French oak is light. It's almost like porous and light and that kind of thing. And you're just like, man, these are like vastly different. I mean,
but both are oak.
Yeah, both are oak.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just like, you can't just say it doesn't really matter, because it does matter.
Yeah, it does. It does actually matter. Here's the other thing I want to bring up that I know you know the answer to. What's a chateau called? I mean, it's not a chateau in Spain.
It's a bodega.
A bodega.
I like that.
I kind of like that too. That's kind of a cool name. Which bodega do you want to go to?
Yeah,
I feel like I'm going to a strip bar kind of.
Yeah. or it's kind of like going to New York and going to like one of those little corner stores, bodegas, that they sell a bunch of different shit,
Now you got me thinking of a taqueria.
Yeah. Let's go to a bodega. Get a taco and a wine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that I think that's kind of neat. They call it. Well, I mean, I'm sure Spanish people are like, yeah. I mean, that's what we call it.
Do you know back in the day, before probably real estate got very, very expensive? This is prior to, let's say, 1950. It wasn't uncommon for these bodegas to age their wines on average 15 to 20 years before they released them.
That's incredible.
How crazy is that?
How could you sit on wine for that long?
Yeah. I mean,
gosh, what a time to be alive. I mean, think of the value you could get there.
Well, and one notable example, and I'm horrible with pronunciation, was Marqués de Murrieta, which released its 1942 vintage of Gran Reserva in 1983.
No way.
41 years of aging before they released it.
What did that look like on a retail shelf?
I don't know, but I kind of want to find a bottle.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
How crazy is that?
I mean, could you think of any of the major wine-producing regions doing that?
No, absolutely. And in today's world, again, it's a different world with the costs and things.
Sure.
You can't afford it. Well, I'm saying this without actually knowing, but I wouldn't think you could afford to do that anymore. Plus, you need to make money. Things cost so much more. So cash flow is important. That's why we don't have a problem with Brunelos and Barreaus. I know we keep going back to, but those are two that I know, Chianti Reservas, whatever, that are aged a little longer. They cost more because you're taking up that real estate.
Naturally.
Yeah. So
the same thing with like bourbon. I mean, if you're going to buy something that's like 12 years old, you're going to expect to pay a little bit more for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Generally speaking. So, I mean, you're talking about real estate here. You're talking about like rent that is just every month.
Yeah, costing them money, space they can't use for other stuff. So you would assume that cost gets passed on. But thank you, Spain.
Yeah. No, that's really cool.
So one thing for me and you that we do like, and I'm going to say on this particular wine, I might get another one of these and let it age longer, because what I'm not getting yet are those tertiary notes.
Yes.
So that's why I say it's still got plenty of aging time left.
Oh, yeah,
plenty of aging time left. But you and I, when you start talking about wines like this, you have to be somebody who likes age on wine. Some people don't. Yeah. Some people want it to be fruit forward, Napa lovers.
Yeah.
But some of us, like you and me, like when it starts to change in those tertiary notes of, the wet barnyard and the mushrooms and the forest floor comes out. And I like that imbalance with still some fruit. And, I like that in a wine. And I think these are wines that you can get that with at a point for a reasonable cost and not have to wait super long time after you buy them.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I'm sure that you could probably find some older stuff, that
I recently bought 2008s and 2009s,
and you may start getting some of that out of it.
Yeah.
I do feel like there is still a pretty structured tannin in this. Like I'm getting the tannins.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I say another 10 years for this easy.
Yeah, and then it's really going to be something crazy. But as is, honestly, it's not even been open that long, and it's starting to round out a little bit more.
Yeah, we've been recording 35 minutes, probably been open 40 minutes.
Yeah, so maybe give it another 30 minutes, it could be different.
Yeah, probably will be.
But I think these are great holds. I know that there's vintage charts and things like that too, like that you can look up, for the region, like for the Spanish region.
Quality regions?
Yeah. Well, not just quality regions, but quality years.
That's what I mean, quality years, yeah, for vintages.
Yeah, like drink or hold. Like I bought some 2013 the other day, and apparently that's a drink year. So go ahead and drink it.
Yeah.
And so, I popped those open.
Not a lot of structure in that year.
Yeah, but tasted great,
Sure.
But like just like anything, I mean, you can kind of take a look at it, like the growing seasons, and I think Wine Enthusiast or Spectator or something releases those things. And
I think so. Here's my biggest issue with Old World, and people are probably getting it from this episode and maybe asking themselves, when are you going to start talking about producers we should buy? That's my biggest problem with Old World. I just kind of go through and sample and try. It is so hard to know and remember all the producers that are there. I know just in Rioja, there's like just under 700 winery producers there.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And I just don't know them. There's a couple that I know that I've been drinking and like it and go by that same producer again. I'm horrible with pronunciation, so I can't even say it. I need to pull them out or get the note, but that's why I don't mention, just when we talk about Old World wines, I don't mention producers a lot. There's some channels or podcasts or wine people that just go, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I'm just not there. I can just tell you I like the region as a whole, and I think there's great value across the board. Like this guy we're drinking, I've never had him before.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy. It's Vina Cumbrero.
Yeah, and it's good. It's
solid.
It's very solid. But yeah, I mean, you think about this too. Like, we talk about like, the Bordeaux and the first growth and the classification system and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we could rattle off a couple of names there. Like no big deal. But like,
what you drink every Tuesday, Petrus.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, just
Wednesday, Rothschild.
Yeah, that's generally what I do. Like every day, I'm opening up a Baller wine.
Yeah. Houston Wine Society, here I come.
Yeah, but I think that falls on deaf ears though. Like, I mean, maybe there's some people who are listening to this show that like really want to know the producers and like the notable ones and spend the money and all that kind of thing. That's just really not our thing.
It's not, but I also say it's subjective.
Yeah.
Quality can be there. Just because I like the style of a particular producer doesn't mean somebody else will. So I think it's, you always get back to wine. We say you need to go explore yourself, figure out what you like. Nobody knows your palate better than you. And that's kind of where our message always in wine is, go to this region, taste what you like.
Yeah.
Just because I tell you I like this, people heard us say the name of this wine, they may go buy it and go, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
That's fine. But don't leave the region. Try something else because there's great wines in this region.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, even like for instance, I like Super Tuscan. I have to bring up Sassicaia because it's just, it's a name, right? Yeah. But like Tignello or whatever.
Tignello?
Tignello, and then Ornella. And, like these are expensive wines. These are, vintage. Like the most recent vintage is going to cost you a couple $100, for the wine. And I'm not saying that like those wines aren't good because they are damn good, but are there Super Tuscans in the region that you can buy for like $30 or $40?
Hell yeah.
That are really good? Hell yeah.
You can buy Sassacaia's second label, the Gilberto, for like $60, and it's fantastic.
for instance, like Amarone, like in Italy, I actually prefer the Ripasso, the second pressing.
Do you really?
Because the value is so great. It's like, you can get a Ripasso for like $20-something. You know, like, and I like Amarone. I actually, it's one of those that I fall in love with and then I fall out of love with, and
it's like cheesecake, man. It's a big, rich wine.
It is. But it's nice to have. I like it.
It is. Having a few bottles, and when you get the mood, you pop one, and then you go. Yeah, it was good, but I'm going to hold off on popping another one. But for a while.
That second pressing, I think, is a little bit more like palatable. And it's more of an everyday wine. That kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But I understand why Amarone costs a lot of money. I mean, you're thinking like they have to dry the grapes, then they press them. I mean, like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's such a process.
Totally agree.
So anyway.
Back to Spain. Did you know Rioja, in the town of Haro, and I think you mentioned Haro.
Yeah.
There's an annual wine festival and food fight there of sorts.
Yes, I have heard of it. That's what I was kind of mentioning there. Yeah, I know they have this big festival, and then like everybody's like coated in wine.
Yeah, they call it a food fight.
Because I've seen pictures of it. Everybody's like purple.
Okay, yeah. I'm looking at that now. I mean
that looks like fun.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's one of those, if food got in your mouth or whatever they're throwing around, you don't mind. There's sometimes you're like, they got in my mouth. This one you don't care.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's really neat, man.
Yeah, definitely a place I think we need to put on the. I mean, it's a long list of places we want to go, but Spain. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, Italy and Spain are probably above France for me to go and hang out and visit. I just feel like the people in Spain are probably freaking cool.
Yeah, I would think so too. And
they're probably everyday people.
And then if your wife is there, you got a translator.
What do you mean?
She speaks Spanish, right?
She does?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, she does.
Jess?
Jess, she does.
So there you go.
She does speak Spanish. She is Hispanic.
And then they'll make fun of her accent.
Because, probably. Or say she's not speaking correctly.
Yeah.
It's not proper Spanish.
Not Castilian Spanish or whatever.
But that's the cool thing about Spanish. I mentioned I want to go to Spain or Italy. And, Italian is not, if you can speak Spanish, you can get by in Italy and vice versa. If you can speak Italian, you can get by in Spain.
Oh, yeah. So. Yeah, for sure. I used to work for an Italian company, and all the guys who, worked for the company that were from Italy, they could go just kick it into Spanish, no problem. Like, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, while we're talking about Spain, I do just want to mention one white wine that I really enjoy. I've been diving into and kind of exploring, and it has quickly grown on me as one that I need to keep stocked regularly.
Okay.
You probably know what it is. Do you or no?
Maybe. Go for it.
Albarreño.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
I've been drinking a few of those and really enjoy them. So I know white wines aren't made that much other than, Cava is well known as a bubbly, a sparkling wine. But I think Albarreño is probably the most popular white wine that's made over there. I think it's one that I really enjoy. So I've been kind of tasting through those. I know we're talking about Rioja and Tempranillo and red wines, but I did, in case anybody's listening, going, is there a white wine that's pretty good? That would be it in my book.
I'm going to, I'll say this. This is when we're talking about Cava. So there is a producer in California that makes Cava, Gloria Ferrar. Yeah, big name, right? Yep. I will say, if you're ever out in Napa, Sonoma, go to Gloria Ferrar because it is beautiful. It is a beautiful property.
Is it really?
It really is super nice.
Is it nicer than Chandon?
About
the same.
They're both really nice.
Okay.
I'd say like the thing I like about the Gloria Ferrar property is you're on kind of this like credenza thing of their like tasting room. Like it's like on the second or third level and it's just outstretching and you're just looking out into the winery.
Oh wow.
I mean, it's just so cool.
Very cool.
And I mean, Bubbles are bubbles, man. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy the hell out of that.
Bubbles make you happy.
Oh, definitely. And they have some good product too. I mean, they really do make some pretty good wines. So, I just as a touristy thing, I would say go check it out if you're ever out there.
The other thing I think we need to report back on and probably try, I know in Spain, they also make some rosé wines.
I've heard that, and we need to try some of those because I can imagine them being quite good.
I would think so, and especially if they're made with the Tempranillo and the Grenache and those. I'm curious. I'm interested.
Yeah, I could see that being pretty good.
Yeah, so maybe something we have to kind of explore a little more.
Yeah,
maybe not even maybe. We will explore a little.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like think of the tour of Spain. Like, man, you go to Barcelona, Madrid, like Rioja, the area, like there's so much history there.
Yeah, and I'm thinking food. What's when you think Spain, paella comes to mind right away.
Tapas are more of those smaller kind of little. I don't want to call them finger food, but small bite kind of food. If you had a whole bunch of them,
they're great. I'm just trying to think of ingredient wise. Seafood, for whatever reason, comes to mind.
Seafood comes to mind, but pork, I think, is big.
Okay.
Big there.
Chicken?
I'm sure. I'm sure. But then you've got kind of the influence of the the spices and things like that. I mean, it's
little Mediterranean influence.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd say like this too, like. There's 2 restaurants in Houston that are Spanish restaurants. Mad is one of them, and I think that's just the airport code for Madrid.
Okay.
And then BCN, which is like
Barcelona.
For Barcelona. And those restaurants are very good. Expensive, but very good.
Okay.
Very good. So highly recommend them if you're ever in the Houston area. Those were pretty damn good restaurants.
Okay, final thoughts on Rioja or Spain in general. I mean, obviously, value is the huge takeaway here.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that we wanted to bring up is just, don't overlook this area. Don't overlook, it's easy to go to your old standards and say, yeah, I'm going to drink a Chianti, I'm going to drink a this, that. Don't overlook Spain because I think there's a lot of value in that region. And they make some damn good wine.
Yeah, and I think a lot of average wine people associate price with quality too much.
Yeah.
And assume that it has to be expensive to be good. And I just think that can be furthest from the truth.
Yes, I agree.
And I think this is a region that kind of, just screams that it doesn't have to be expensive to be freaking fantastic.
Oh yeah. I mean, just go out and give it a try. I mean, that's the thing.
I don't want them to walk in and go, with 2011, $27. Well, probably not that good. It is freaking good, and that's the point. If you see Rioja, you see Spain, you see something with some age on it. More than 7 years old. I would highly recommend you buy a bottle or 2 and
give it a try, man. Next time you're barbecuing, you have pulled pork sliders or something like that, man. Just get all over this.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Well, fun episode, man.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Rioja, one of our
new kind of favorites.
Big time. I don't know that now that I've arrived in Rioja, I don't know that I want to leave.
Yeah.
I like this region.
I would have stayed a while.
Yeah, pretty cool. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey. And until our next episode, enjoy your next pour.
Of Rioja.
Aged Rioja.
Aged Rioja.